They say there's no business like show business, and if any of the movies about show business shed any truth, it's safe to say it's a tough industry to thrive in. Here's the celebrities that just couldn't handle the fame. 22 biggest celebrities fallen from fame. 22. Amanda Bynes. Kids from the 90s remember her best from their childhood. The quirky, funny girl that starred in Nickelodeon shows like Figure It Out and The Amanda Show. In her teens and early 20s, she'd not only star as the lead in her own show again with What I Like About You, but she'd also star in a string of teen comedies and even a musical. And then, she seemed to have disappeared, only to reappear with a slew of strange tweets, ill-fitting wigs, and overall odd behavior. She looks to be on the road to recovery since 2014, however. 21. Edward Furlong. Ask anybody. Their favorite Terminator movie is sure to be Judgment Day. Let's all just be honest with ourselves. And one of the biggest reasons people love that movie so much was due to young Edward Furlong being cast as John Connor. Furlong was clearly very talented, and he enjoyed a very brief amount of fame in well-received movies in the late 90s, including American History X. But it appears Furlong peaked as a youngster, as he soon succumbed to a lifestyle of alcohol and drug abuse. 20. Jodie Sweetin. Again, if you're a 90s kid, you're probably getting a lot of nostalgia at this point in the list. And no family was more quintessentially 90s than the one on Full House. Jodie Sweetin starred as Stephanie Tanner, the middle daughter in the Tanner household. And like a lot of child actors, she was introduced to the sordid world of Hollywood way too young. When the series ended, Sweetin found herself not able to get a job and falling into addiction. She revealed all this in her 2009 memoir, Unsweetened. As of 2016, she starred in the sequel series Fuller House, which airs on Netflix. 19. Sam Worthington. Australian import Sam Worthington has seen his share of starring in lead roles in major blockbuster movies, and yet he still isn't a household name. If you'll remember, he snagged the main role in the highest-grossing movie of all time, Avatar. But despite such a resume, barely anyone really knows who he is. He enjoyed some higher level of fame during the early 2010s, so who knows? There's 2 more Avatar sequels on the way. 18. Dustin Diamond. Take away that beard and add a curly mop on top, and you'll clearly see the vision of Screech from Saved by the Bell. Dustin Diamond made a name for himself for playing the role of Samuel Screech Powers. He's had a more or less consistent career since then, if you will. He's had small roles here and there, but after lots of interesting career choices, i.e. the film Screeched, and getting charged with disorderly conduct, it just goes to show you can only hold on to the fame of one popular role for so long. 17. Mike Tyson. So how exactly do you sum up the fame of Mike Tyson in a minute or so? Well, he was a professional boxer. Not only was he good, but he earned a certain kind of persona for having a tattoo on his face, having a distinct speaking voice, and then biting Evander Holyfield's ears. Lots of stuff happened since then, but it seems safe to say that when it comes to Mike Tyson, it's difficult to say where anyone stands. 16. Lance Armstrong. People look up to athletes not only for their physical skill, but because athletes get marketed to be inspiring. And that reputation was no different when it came to professional racing cyclist Lance Armstrong. Having gone through his share of health issues, people were really rooting for Armstrong to make a recovery. But then in 2013, Armstrong would admit to doping, resulting in him getting stripped of his titles and medals he had won in the past. 15. PewDiePie. YouTube has birthed a new type of celebrity, and amongst one of the most popular creators includes Felix Kjellberg, better known by his username PewDiePie. The Swedish YouTube personality got famous for his gaming channel, which had a format that many deemed to be unique from most other gaming channels on YouTube. He'd rise to fame, becoming one of the highest paid YouTubers, and then in 2017, anti-Semitic comments would cause him to lose his deal with Disney's Maker Studio. 14. Lindsay Lohan. Perhaps one of the most well-known cases of a celebrity falling from fame is the case of Lindsay Lohan. She showed up to Hollywood at the age of 12, landing the role of twins in the 1998 remake of The Parent Trap. Her career was on an upward trajectory, most especially after starring in another remake, Freaky Friday, in 2003, and then in the iconic movie Mean Girls a year later. And like many celebrities, fame got to be too much for her. Following many appearances in court and some much-needed rehab, Lohan's been laying low for a few years now, though this year she does have projects coming up. 13. Hugh Grant. This year he starred in the new Paddington sequel, but it can feel like grasping at straws trying to figure out just how many times you saw Hugh Grant in a movie before that. That new Bridget Jones movie, maybe? Point is, you don't see him in as many films as you did a decade or so ago. Grant's no stranger to scandal, especially for that debacle in 1995 when he got taken into custody. But he seemed to fade away for a while without much people noticing, as well as get back into the swing of things without many people noticing he was gone. 12. Tyrese Gibson. He rose to fame as a singer-songwriter and rapper, and then would find his place in acting. Nowadays, audiences probably know him best for starring in the Fast and Furious franchise movies, which has kind of surprisingly stuck around with a firm hold. But in the past year, Gibson reportedly has some beef with the newest member of the Fast and Furious family, Dwayne Johnson. And with how popular and exposed Johnson is, it wasn't a smart move. 11. Logan Paul. Speaking of recent controversy, let's get to YouTuber, former Viner, and actor Logan Paul. Even with his popularity online, he was far from a household name. But then this year, he would reach a new kind of fame, the one where people only know you because you did something distasteful. Paul received insane amounts of criticism for the vlog he posted on New Year's Eve of 2017, showing him in the sea of trees in Japan where they came across a deceased person. Labeled as disrespectful and disgusting, he became much more unlikable. But during this time, Paul experienced a brief surge of even more fame for doing it. 10. Martha Stewart. We all can admit how strange it felt when you heard about Martha Stewart having to be put away for insider trading. And it's kind of weird to think that happened nearly 15 years ago. On television, she appears like a quaint, middle-aged woman who just likes cooking and crafts and all sorts of household things. For a while, she dropped off the radar. But if anything, knowing she has some street cred now weirdly made her cooler. 9. Ryan Lochte. He's an excellent swimmer for sure, but as far as the public eye is concerned, there's not really much else to say about Olympic athlete Ryan Lochte. In addition to winning 3 bronze medals, 3 silver medals, and 6 gold medals ever, with a few being from the Rio Olympic Games, he did something else that would make the 2016 tournament memorable. He and fellow American teammates reported that they had been robbed at a gas station. The whole thing would later be dubbed Lochtegate. When it came out, they had fabricated the whole thing in order to hide they got out of control and destroyed public property. 8. Gerard Butler. Unlike a lot of the other celebrities on this list, Gerard Butler didn't really do anything wrong. If anything, the reason Gerard Butler has somewhat faded from the light of fame was because studios didn't think he could bring in the money. He's been in some big budget movies, yet the money wasn't ever really returned as of late. So while he's probably gonna still be in films, he won't be as prominent anytime soon. 7. Katherine Heigl. For a time during the early 2010s, she was the one to watch. But ever since Katherine Heigl made some unsavory comments about the writers of Grey's Anatomy after she got nominated for an Emmy, people haven't liked her as much. Heigl opted out of the nomination because she felt the material she was given was not good enough to be nominated for an Emmy. And that's just one instance of her supposed attitude problem behind the scenes. 6. Michael Vick. He once played as a quarterback in the NFL, associated with teams such as the Eagles, Jets, the Falcons, and Steelers. Michael Vick was relatively popular, and then he got charged with unlawful dogfighting, and his likability and career decreased from then on. 5. Matt Lauer. Audiences have been watching him on the news for decades, most especially in the late 90s, and up until this past year, Matt Lauer was a fixture on American news. But as the hashtag #MeToo movement gained traction, Lauer would find himself facing harassment complaints from a former colleague, which led to his termination from NBC. 4. Paula Deen. You look at her and you just know she cooks and bakes a lot. And that's probably why Paula Deen did so well for her brand, as it was easy to market her as a wholesome American grandmother. But then in 2013, that brand crumbled to the ground when she got sued for racial discrimination. Companies such as Food Network and her other endorsers cut Deen off for the controversy. 3. Bill Cosby. Here's yet another celebrity that people believe to be too down to earth and even too wholesome to be accused of hurting women. Although he hasn't been in the spotlight as much as he was decades ago, Bill Cosby had a rather nice reputation for himself after years of working. But the over 60 accusations from different women would smear anyone's career. 2. Harvey Weinstein. It makes sense that we got to Harvey Weinstein next, doesn't it? It's strange because unlike everyone else on this list, he's neither an actor, athlete, or musical artist. Whether you realize it or not, a lot of the movies you've seen came from this guy's company. And if you didn't know who Harvey Weinstein was before, you do now. Need we really say more? 1. Mel Gibson. From movies like Mad Max to Lethal Weapon to Braveheart, Mel Gibson showed he could do all of it, even direct. But a restraining order from his former partner and mother of one of his children, Oksana Grigorieva, would make headlines, accompanied with audio recordings of Gibson threatening and verbally abusing her. And between 2010 and now, barely anyone heard of Gibson again until he started appearing in public and in movies once more.